Good Thursday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about all my cars and trucks and motorcycles, the SUVs, the troublemaker, the turbo dog Kiefer, the camper, the change of season. Wow, it's Thursday morning, and the dog, yes, the dog that's right next to me, he is wound up this morning. He is just wound up. Wow, what a beautiful morning. Or is it, being it's overcast, it's humid. It's just so humid up here, even though it's not really warm out, but it's just that like icky, sticky, humidature time of year of the transition from the summer to the fall. Always good Thursday morning to those that watch my channel. Appreciate you tuning in and listening to me gab away and tell you my ideas and thoughts and views as we cross the bridge, cross the, the way here to get to the barn and get the morning going. And I've got a busy schedule this morning, so I've got to kind of get things going a little earlier today in order for me to be able to be at places. It's a dental appointment. Who doesn't know that? Dentist appointment. You better go to see the dentist. If you don't see the dentist on a regular basis, you're going to pay dearly in life. I can only hope that you have that health care or the money in your pocket to afford to be able to do that. So to the barn with the dogs, and Kiefer's out of control as usual. And that's just kind of how it is with the doggies and the puppies that like to play. The play dog. So, as always, it's always about what do we talk about? How do we bring content to the table? Good morning there, Don, man. And how do we have fun? Whoops. About me tripping over myself on getting the morning going and keeping Kiefer boy under control with the lights, camera, and action. And wow, what a meal last night. I've been making these meals last few nights, and it's a lot of work. It's incredible how much time it takes to make a good meal. For me, it turns into like a 2-hour project, bump-ups, and I'm out embellishing on that. It's a 2-hour project to make a decent meal. If you watched my channel last night, I made some really good chili that I haven't made in a long time, and I've made chili for many years, and I learned how to kind of make it a little different than maybe how others make it. And so for me, I enjoy cooking, but at the same time, I've done it so long that I just kind of get burned out on it. And that's the thing. It's the burnout factor of cooking all the time. And I pick up weight because I'm eating too much. And just in recent years, I just am more content keeping it really simple and not really having a lot to eat in the evening. But at the same time, Gail from Gail's Food and Stuff, Gail and Brian, she's kind of got me reinvigorated to go out there and make meals. So I think it's pretty cool. And she has her own channel, and we talk amongst ourselves, and we try to figure out how you make money on YouTube, which is very challenging. I think it has a little bit of a debris behind it or something. So sorry to kind of distract you here, but I'm going to clean that off, see if it makes it any better. Yeah, see there? I think it did have a bit of stuff there. So for Gail, she's a great friend, and Brian too, and she's figuring out things that I didn't figure out. I mean, she's like, hey, you know what? In your channel, you don't even have the thanks capability on your channel. Last night, she actually alerted me to that watching the chili video. And she's like, hey, Mr. Iceman, Mr. Gary, you've got to turn on your thanks capabilities on your channel, or people can thank you and apparently get paid for that. I don't really know the whole 9 yards on it. I guess you pay for it. I don't really know. But so she's like, yeah. And so I go to my settings, and it says it's on. She's like, well, turn it off and turn it back on. I'm like, yeah, turn it off, turn it back on. All of a sudden, now it appears on my videos that you can have a thanks thing for, I guess, the donation for your efforts. So thank you very much, Gail. She's so funny. She's like, you know, we were having that anniversary lunch, and I was giving ideas to you, and you just kind of snubbed your nose to me. I'm like, yeah, typical guy. Typical man trying to listen to a woman's views and being right all the time, right? Us guys know that story. Yeah, we sure do. With the wife is always right at the end of the day. Stories, yeah, we do them too well. So what do we talk about in the ongoing adventures of Monday through Thursday? Monday was the safe conversations. Tuesday was the what do you want conversations. Wednesday, I think, was a great conversation, danger. And a lot of people on my channel reached out and said, yeah, the danger among us is so true that I made a video yesterday of the danger of me going to Timberg Honda to pick up my tent for my cool 450R WE Works Edition. And that package, the promotion is getting that motorcycle sold, which you get a nice floor, rug mat, get a nice stand, and you get a nice tent like the official motorcycle racers have with all the Honda Signa all over it. And so that came in. They don't have it there at the dealership when you buy the bike. Honda has to ship it to them, which they have confirmation of you actually buying that motorcycle. You know, here's Don wanting to ride that bike so bad. Mr. Sanchez wants to ride it. That's the reality. He's like, man, I got to ride that motorcycle. So, yes, quite the character. And thanks so much, Mr. Sanchez, for continuing to support my channel and interact. It's great stuff. And all those out there, Mr. Brian K., he's like, geez, man, I can't keep track of your damn channel. I mean, I'm like, right. It's very challenging if you're not on my channel like every day of your life to see all the antics I do and the different change up of the cars I do. If you're not really paying attention, you just get lost in what he get or does he have or whatever. So back to the word of the day. And that's the thing. Today, the word of the day is word. I'm so terrible on my pronunciation with like the W and the G. I just don't have a very good, I'm not strong in that wood, like wash. I don't know where that came from. Probably came from me growing up, from being born in Ohio, living in Detroit, living in Massachusetts, living in Jersey, living in California, living in Virginia. I mean, and my family came from Tennessee. All my sisters and my brother were born in Tennessee. My mother's in Tennessee. My dad's from Illinois. So all the different languages, all the different, I should say, the accents, I guess all get accumulated into my voice where it doesn't come out too clearly and people get a kick out of it. Even my wife used to get a kick out of it. When I started dating her, I say wash, wash, wash. So the word of the day, that's the word. And it's pretty incredible to think about the words that we use and how powerful our words are. And everybody knows if they're in relationships, business, personal, whatever it may be, it's just that one word that can make you so happy or so unhappy. It's incredible how the power of words is really so important in our life, and it so has an impact, I think, on how you're brought up, on how the way you hear words. Like for my brother, he's 85% deaf. He's deaf, being that his left ear has no hearing, his right ear has hearing. So for my brother, he never has really heard the words per se pronounced. So it's always interesting to see him pronounce words that he hasn't heard, because he just can't break that volume in his brain from his hearing loss to hear. So he pronounces words incorrectly, and which we all know, we take it the right way. And I sometimes say, no, it's said this way. So, and I'm sure other people know that too. People mispronounce words. But what's really intriguing to me is how many words do you think there are in the world? And what I mean by that, how many languages do you think are in the world? And it's beyond believable that to present date, there's 7,100 active languages, different languages in the world. Is that unbelievable? And the English language is the most dominant language in the world by over 1 billion people that talk English. But the Chinese language is the most difficult language to learn. It's called like the Mandarin language. And I think there's like, from beginning of mankind, of what they speculate of the history of civilization on this earth, they said there's maybe been like 35,000 different languages. Wow. Is that just incredible to think about that? English language becomes such the dominant impact, which I think we most would all agree, is because the dominance of the world powers of the most success was through the English language and trade and everything else, to be my guess on that. But I'm not the expert on the language by any means. And yeah, in so many ways, when I was younger, should I have taken Spanish? Yeah, I should have. That was right there within hand's reach when I lived in California, and I didn't see any really use for it. But I never really been, per se, in the business where that was something that was really critical to the success. But for younger people today, to be bilingual and to have the availability to speak different languages, that's very to your advantage, because we live in such the culture in our country that's changing so much that is bringing different languages to our country, which most would agree it's mostly Hispanic, Latino, Spanish, even though there's different Spanish languages. So it's infinite on that. I'm sure many people agree. But going back to the words, I think, we all have the challenge of words that we choose to say and how we present ourselves. And sometimes, unfortunately, I think we misrepresent ourselves by the way we say something or the word we use. But at the same time, I think it's very aggravating for most of us here that use our devices. And who doesn't know the constant challenge of spell check? When you're texting somebody, the damn phone changes the word you text it, and you realize it's a freaking wrong word. Does that just drive you nutty? Or even, in some ways, voice recognition. And that's what I thought was so intriguing to bring up to today's conversation about words, is because we're going into the revolution of the artificial intelligence. We truly are going to witness a transformation of mankind that's going to be utilizing computers more than ever in our lifetime, that runs things more than ever in our lifetime and controls things. I mean, it's beyond believable what's going on. And I've talked about this so many times on my channel about the artificial intelligence, the generative pre-trained transformer, the Chat GPT, the OpenAI, and I've talked about in great length of this on my channel about what's going on, and how I always talked about Elon Musk buying up Twitter to take that information and to transform it into the computers. Just thinking about it, I talked about this so much in so much depth in my YouTube channel, is on how, generative pre-trained transformer. So just that Chat GPT, you say to yourself that a human being is training the computer. It's transforming that computer into be mankind-like, which comes down to words. That you're putting words into the computer system and sure, there's media, there's a lot of other things, and that's why NVIDIA is such the hot stock and the hot semiconductor manufacturer, is because it has the gaming processing unit, GPU, over the CPU, the computer processing unit. And for the artificial intelligence, sure, the CPU is going to be great for word, you telling it how to decipher words. But then when it comes to video content and other things, that's where this gaming process, GPU, is so important to the build out of artificial intelligence. And that's why so many companies are wanting the NVIDIA semiconductor chip. And that's why that stock went from being like an $84 stock to a $1,500 stock very quickly. And then he did a big 10-way split on it. Just beyond believable. Now there's lawsuits that are being filed against NVIDIA because so many think that they have cheated the dominance of that technology and have withheld it from so many others being able to have capability. Or there's a lot of things that antitrust lawsuits are going on. Don't need to harbor on that. But the point is, with this artificial intelligence, it's going right back to the cars and vehicles we own. Because just as well as I do, Elon Musk, the autonomous, the robot, taxi that he wants to put in service, and all these other companies, Waymo and whatever name, even Uber, there's just lots of companies out there that really want to transform the transportation of vehicles into autonomous vehicles. This artificial intelligence is all about being incorporated to that and the words that you use. Because for a artificial intelligence car, it'll have to understand words for the street it's going to drive on. It'll have to understand words to stop the car. So the whole infrastructure of the word being built into the technology of these cars, and as you know, you can drive down the road right now, and this took off many, many years ago, where you could, in a GM product, that's the first time I remember seeing that. Maybe it's Toyota. I was such a GM guy. The GM product, I remember the sales guy going down the road, and he tapped the screen on the navigation, and then the navigation thing would come up like a Siri type of thing, and it would recognize him to start speaking, and he would say the address of where he wants to go, and automatically the mapping system would take a few seconds, and it would then let us know the destination and the route, how to get there. That was really true beginnings for me, seeing the integration of the human interaction with the car, of the vehicle understanding where you want to go, not driving you there, but that was probably back in 2000. It may have even been back in the late 90s. Somebody else here may know that better than me. I gotta drink water here, so just enjoy the scenery. There he is. What you doing, buddy, huh? Yeah, we have a shock collar. So funny. My daughter was given, or she bought, a shock collar training system from a good friend of ours, Amanda, that trains German Shepherds. We have all that. Now, my daughter's so funny because she'll be like, you think I'm being mean to the dog. I'm like, I'm not really saying that, but you don't really manage it. So it's like one day it's on them, then the next day it's gone. So she'll show me on how Kiefer will be all riled up, and then she'll have the shock system on it, and it's a very mild zinging sensation that she can radiate back onto her forearm to figure out how much of a shock it is. And Kiefer's a whole different dog. But then she takes it off. So he doesn't wear it. So I just am befuddled. I'm like, I just don't get this. You buy this training collar, but then you never use it. So I don't know. It gets complicated. You have kids. So you hear these stories of the kids in your life? Yeah. You try to tell them to do things, and what do? You have that word. So that's the biggest thing. What's the biggest word that your child or even you don't want to hear is no. Yeah, who doesn't know that? Who doesn't know that answer? And that directly relates to every freaking thing that I own and if you own. What's the biggest concern for men? I know women are the same way, but what's the biggest concern when you go and get an adventure and you find your favorite car or motorcycle and the wife isn't with you? And what's your biggest concern? Is that you're going to ask the wife if you can buy that vehicle, and the word that you probably are going to hear is no. And so then why do men and others and spouses, it goes both ways, but we'd say the men are more dominant. That'd be my guess. I could be wrong. But so why do so many men go out, like the Iceman does, and goes and buys something without ever asking the wife's approval first? And that's not true. It isn't like every single thing I've bought, I've never asked for the wife's approval, but it's more leaning the other way of me just buying something because I know the wife's going to be like, no, which she's right. There's no doubt in my mind. Well, my wife's right. No, you shouldn't have bought another damn vehicle. You're going to get yourself in financial havoc. Yeah. She's so right. She's right all the time. I don't disagree with that, but that's just who I am. So the strongest word is for the males, in my views, that go car shopping, truck shopping, motorcycle shopping. The biggest word that you're scared of is calling the wife, and she's going to say no. And that's the running joke for me being a salesman throughout my career and being around business throughout my career is I've sold different products, is the man that I'm standing in front of, we talk and he gets excited. And then when it comes time to pull the trigger, to pull out the money, he goes, well, and this is where I know it's all over. Let me go ask the wife. And I'll say, can I have my business card back? In a jokingly way. He'd be like, why? I'm like, because you're never going to call me. There's no way. That was either you're out to get out of the sales deal, and I guarantee any salesperson that watches my channel, they would totally agree with this. When the guy comes to your car dealership and he gets all revved up to buy something, and then at the end he doesn't buy anything, usually the scapegoat is, let me call my wife or let me ask my wife. And that's pretty much game over. And I'm not saying it happens all the time, but I can about guarantee you that the majority of the time, it's game over. So, for us men, the biggest fear we have in our life is our wives. Yeah. Have you ever watched, Everybody Loves Raymond? Have you ever watched some of these sitcoms? It's just classic great stuff of the men are fearless when it comes to asking for something, and the wife is like, no. Yeah. And then, how do you take that word? Do you take that word in a positive way? Do you take that word in a creative way? Or do you take that word in an argumentative way? And that's where usually it all goes south because it becomes argumental. And we all know how that starts to play out with an argument. And then you hear the conversation of what you did wrong so many years ago. Hey, men, you all there with me? Yeah, then the wife brings up on the failures you had in the past to reinforce how the no on her side reinforces that she's right and you're wrong. Oh, right. Yeah. So there's another powerful word, wrong. You got the wrong answer. These are all like psychological depressant type of words. But we all love the word yes. We love that word. We all love the word win. We all love the word I just said, love. I love you. That's a powerful word. Versus your spouse says to you, I hate you. Oh my gosh. That just is a spear to the heart. Instantly. If you have a relationship, anybody, whoever your partner is, for them to use that word hate, oh, that is really a really strong, in some ways, derogatory word towards you. And it's very challenging to overcome that, remembering that. I mean, everybody knows as a married or a couple, people have been friends even, you all know there's some word that's been said in your lifetime that you'll never forget. You'll never forget that one word. And usually, it's a derogatory word. It isn't usually, and that's what we all know. You can be up on planet Moon having the time of your life because of how great everything is, and all it takes is one word to change all that when you feel like you're at the bottom of the earth in the pit of hell. Yeah, who doesn't know those conversations? And so back to the motorcycles and cars, and here's the thing. If you look at the Harley Davidson, the words that were used from the two guys, Harley and Davidson, the Harley brothers and the Davidson brothers, whatever it was, they came together and finally came to closure that a really good name for their motorcycle is Harley Davidson. And you know as well as I do, this is probably one of the most recognized motorcycles in the world, other than maybe Honda per se. I mean, for me, I'm not real sure because you have Royal Enfield. When you go overseas into the Asian markets, Royal Enfield has been around for 100 plus years. So there's other manufacturers, but I would be willing to bet that Harley Davidson probably is a pretty well recognized word in the world. Everybody knows Jesus is a very recognized word. Muhammad, you can go through the religious beliefs of others and what's your religion and the languages. And so then you have Triumph. Triumph's name, I did a video here talking about why different vehicles are named and where the names came from. And Triumph, that's a stout, success. It's a warrior. It triumphed. It won the war. So Triumph came from the very early beginnings in England from that inventor of the motorcycle of wanting to have a very successful warrior type of name that he would win. Chevrolet, that came from Mr. Chevrolet, I believe, if I'm correct on that. I did a whole YouTube video talking about where all the names came from, the Dodge brothers. And once again, it's a word, but those words in so many ways come from the history of the family line of those names. If you think about it, the many cars, Peugeot was Peugeot from Mr. Peugeot, Mr. Mercedes-Benz or whatever. I mean, there's so many names that have come to be in the car automotive world and the motorcycle world the words came from family true beginnings, that's why I think about it all the time. It wouldn't be so cool. I mean, for where we are in today's age, if the YouTube is still sufficient, the technology is still available, could you even imagine if somebody's able to dig up these videos that I'm making 200 years from now, 300 years from now, and let's just say that my daughter eventually gets married and has children, and then those children have children, and then the history goes on, and then 200 years from now, somebody digs up these videos of the Iceman to see where that individual came from. I'm always intrigued myself, and people do the genealogy, the tree thing, all that other stuff. I know all about that, and my one cousin's gone through a great extent to look at the side of my mother's family of where everybody came from, who they were, but I think to myself too, it's so sad that that one word, death, when you die, who remembers you? I mean, right now, who do you know that was here 100 years ago? I mean, it's so sad that, sure, I'm sure many people of my age could say that. Younger people would have a harder challenge. But I'm sure if you're 50s, 60s, you can honestly say, yeah, my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle. I'm talking 100 years ago. I'm not talking 50 years ago. And so, but then you think to yourself, 200 years ago, where did that person, who was that person? My voice is so terrible. It's embarrassing sometimes to make videos because my voice sucks. I got to clear it up. And the thing is, I don't talk to anybody before I start talking to you guys. It's just too much talking. It's a yabba dabba doing. So the word, so like your last name, I'm sure a lot of people know the history of your last name. Sad part for me and my family is, on my side of the family, my last name, it's over. There's no nobody to carry my last name. So that'll get mixed up to figure out who I am 100 years from now, 200 years from now, because the name won't correlate to whoever came from Julia. So once Julia gets married or whatever her destiny is in life, and she has children, her last name will be her husband's last name. She may keep her middle name, or she may change her name. She already has two of the family names. Her name would get very, very long. But the point is, so my last name is no longer going to be continued in my family. So like my father, his last name is going to come to an end as once, I perish and the rest of the family that he brought perishes. It'll be Julia that carries the heritage of the family, and my sister has children too, but they're not the last name of my father. So, and the point of that is that name will disappear, and then somebody may not relate to who I am, knowing that I was actually part of that generation, and that's where you came from. It's just like the motorcycles. Can we think of all the word of the cars? The DeLorean. The DeLorean. Yeah, if anybody thinks of DeLorean, you probably think instantly Coke head, Coke user, failure. But Back to the Future car with Michael J. Fox, and the other actor, that big hit movie. And so, but the DeLorean, it's a failure. The Studebaker, a failure. You can start looking at the names of so many things that have come and gone. If you ever look at back in the early 1900s, all of the motorcycle companies that were out there, it's pretty incredible how many motorcycle manufacturers were around in the early 1900s, but only so many survived. Most of them went away. And so I don't even know all those names. So all those names, if somebody had the day of thinking they were going to be the next Harley Davidson manufacturer that never came to be. And it goes on today too. If you're a person that tries to start a business and you get a business name and you think you're going to do so great, but in the end you fail, you bankrupt, or the opposite thing is you explode. Like for Elon Musk, he thinks the word, but it's a letter, X. So how that kind of comes to be is X a word? It's just a letter. I mean, so in so many ways, why did Elon Musk, the power of 10? Is that what it's all about? How many girlfriends and wives has he had? How many children does he have? The power of 10? I guess that would be his reasoning for X, SpaceX. Everything is X related, even though for us growing up, X rated meant. Yeah, X wasn't really per se the thing you would choose in your vocabulary. Oh, I'm going to start my X company. People would be like, X company? What industry are you in? Most people would be like, yeah, is that Ron Jeremy? Is Ron Jeremy one of your actors? If your person understands that language, you get everything I'm talking about. Look up Ron Jeremy if you don't know what I'm talking about, and you'll figure it out real quickly. And so there's the thing. A word you can resonate to Hitler. I mean, does anybody think that, oh my gosh, Hitler, how powerful is that word of what you remember from 100 years ago? It's hard to believe that we're 100 years ago, and in so many ways, that's what people use the word. Who doesn't know that in our political system right now, of the going back and forth, there's very powerful words being used between political figures that are derogatory towards other political figures, and they don't think it's a big deal to mouth off all day like Nancy Pelosi and runs her mouth on how conservatives are stupid. They're just dumb. I mean, it's just really bad that they choose these words. Why can't the words be more like, the others don't agree with us? Why do you have to be derogatory towards somebody because they don't agree with your views? And that's what's so bad is because you don't agree with me, now you're stupid, you're dumb, because you don't agree that I feel like this is the baddest ass Harley Davidson I've ever owned. And another guy would be like, no, it's not. Now, do I say to this person, you're stupid? No, I say, hey, I get it. You don't feel that way. I understand. What's the big deal? But others, to gain power and to manipulate people, they'll use very strong words that are derogatory so that you then think, okay, well, the Harley Davidson, I've had many, many videos out there where somebody will post on the video junk. It's junk. Like Dodge. I'll show them my Dodge Hellcats, and some guy out there will say that stuff's junk or POS. And it's like, okay, so it's a derogatory comment. Wouldn't it be better if that person just said, hey, I don't like it? No, because they're wanting to send a message that you're an idiot, and this underlying message is, hey, Mr. Iceman, you're an idiot to buy this stuff because it's junk. Could they have been more, a little bit more polished and said, hey, I'm not so sure I'd buy that. I think you would have better options buying that. And a lot of people do that. Majority of people do handle things that way, but at the same time, it's that one word that gets you riled up, like lose. Somebody says you're a loser. Yeah, how do you feel about that? And that's the whole thing in the competitiveness of the motorcycles and the cars and the trucks that we have is it's all about who wins, who loses. And that's a huge difference on how you look at something. If the Chevy Camaro is at the track and the Z28 is winning all the time, that's going to be a sought-after car. If it's losing all the time, it won't be. If the Corvette Z06 initial product brought to market, it was having a lot of the what was they called engine soak, or the supercharger soak, where the car would go into total like lockdown. I'm trying to remember the exact word they used on that, but the C7 Corvette, when it first came out and guys were racing them, the supercharger was overheating and it was putting the car into automatic, control of not being able to run at its highest, greatest performance because the motor didn't want to blow up. And so the electronics took over and you couldn't run the car to really race it anymore until it cooled down. I'm trying to think of the name. It's like heat soak, I think. I think that's the term for that. So once again, if you watch a brand, a product, and it always is winning, you're tend to be drawn into that, and that helps the brand. That's what it's all about. We all know that if you're a real motorcycle enthusiast, the biggest thing that Honda wants to do year in, year out is present that they can build the best motocross bike, and when it goes to the track and they race it, that motorcycle wins. And if you see over here, here's Team Honda. I have the Ken Roczen. He Don, right? Let's put Don there, right? We'll put Ken's name up there in Don's head. So the whole goal is that Ken's going to represent that motorcycle, and I feel he is a winner that's going to ride that motorcycle. They're not going to pick the loser guy. Why are you going to do that? You watch sports, same thing. You know as well as I do, some professional sports teams, they grow by leaps and bounds because they win all the time. And it draws. The New York Yankees, what do you think brought New York Yankees? What do you think brought Babe Ruth to New York Yankees? It was the winning. Why did New York Yankees become so well known? It's because it was such an incredible organization back in the early 1900s, and it won all the time. You don't know the stories of all the losers. I mean, can anybody tell me who was the losers? The majority of the time, back when baseball got going, football got going, you don't usually hear that conversation. And that's how life is. And that's what I talk about on my YouTube channel so much is it's incredible on how the word, I hear the constant rhetoric is your algorithms, the word that you use that's going to open the door up to your channel exploding. Where I'm more on the page of, no, the word is paid. Somebody's being paid off. Something's weird about the YouTube community, the YouTube creators, on how one guy can have a word broke. Yeah, the word on his YouTube channel will be car dealers are going broke, and that broke word then explodes his channel. Do you believe that? I don't. I don't believe it. I just can't believe that everybody needs to wake up every day and see on how the whole country's going broke, but it's not. The stock market is at an all-time high. The Fed, Jerome Powell, just had a rate cut of 0.5 point, which is unheard of in the history of the interest rates being cut by the Fed. So aggravating to me. I will say this. I think Jerome Powell is dumb. Yeah, So it could be a harsh word. City administration is dumb. Yeah, why do I say that? Because they've done financial havoc to the country of raising interest rates that never ever tamed down the inflation at any significant rate. And inflation is still inflation. But they'll just use year-to-year inflation to tell you inflation's right on par for year-to-year inflation, even though 1 year it went through the roof. It's just beyond believable. So to me, they're dumb. Jerome Powell is a dummy. And then he even admits yesterday that the illegals are having an impact on the U.S. labor market because the illegals are taking other official citizens' jobs. Yes, he said that yesterday. Can you believe he said that? Do you hear much of that today? Probably not. For me, it's ridiculous on how Jerome Powell and this city administration raised the prices on everything. Yes, they did. Sorry, they did. They've raised the prices on everything. They raised the interest rates on everything. Everybody's paying dearly out of their pocket. But somehow, miraculously, this country is still on full-blown nitro fuel going like never seen. To me, it's wherever I go, people are still buying cars. And I was at Timbrook Honda yesterday. Friend Jack of all trades, the Timbrook Automotive Group is doing fabulous. They're doing phenomenal. Their business is solid. They're selling cars left and right. They're not seeing anything that these YouTubers post about. I mean, it's beyond believable. And I said, are you being sincere? Like, of course I am. It's like the Timbrook Automotive Group is an incredible organization, and they're doing fabulous. They're selling cars left and right. They're not seeing the hardships, and they're in the rural areas. Timbrook Honda is not have car dealerships in the Washington, D.C. area. They're out in the rural areas of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia. I think maybe even up in, I think it's Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia is their primary market of being in the car business. And they've done phenomenal. So, but here's the word. We hear constantly, the undermining word on the YouTubers is the gloom and doom. Those are powerful words that people seem to want to go to. So here's an interesting article on the Wall Street Journal. Journal was talking about how this interest rate being lowered, it's a catch-22. Because what it's saying is that a lot of people are borrowing money at the highest level in modern times. And what's going to happen is, with this lower interest rate coming on board, people are even borrow more money. So there's now a speculation that the borrowing's going to go through the roof because people will have the availability to borrow more money at a lower rate of cost, but the payment will maybe be a little bit more or the same or whatever. But people are going to go back to cash out of their houses. People are going to start leveraging themselves like never before because they're in such dire straits. They're in such dire straits, per this Wall Street Journal article, that the lowering of the rate is actually in some ways a disservice to the consumers and to the citizens of this country because people are just going to get further in debt. Wow. Then it opens the door, in my eyes, for the car dealers to be able to sell their cars again at higher prices to a degree, not totally, because you're going to get a better interest rate on that deal. So the whole point is, what did the Fed accomplish through jacking the rates through the roof? Nothing. Besides a very expensive economy, and he's made a lot of people rich. That's the thing. People don't connect the dots. The big business has made more money than ever in modern times. Ever. And it's just, you don't hear about it because this city administration always will talk the same rhetoric that the conservatives enrich the big guys, and the Democratic people don't do that. It's a bunch of BS. It's the worst in the world. Just tell it the way it is. They can't do that because you know what the biggest word in our vocabulary is? Is lie. Yeah, we all know these political figures, all they do is lie. They just lie to get themselves in office. And once they're in office, what are you going to do to me? What are you going to do to me? We know. You're not going to be able to do nothing to them. Very challenging to get a sitting president, sitting senator, congressman, it happens. It happens very rarely. And congressman, you know, it can happen. Senator, it can happen. A president, very, very challenging. The Democratic Party spent 4 years. They're up to 8 years now. Democratic Party, if you really think about it, Democratic Party of trying to not let Donald Trump be in office, going to 2015. So they're now close to 10 years. You just hear me? The party has spent close to 10 years now of, in my views, of lying to the public. Now, some people may not agree that, and I don't disagree. There's a lot of things that are truthful, but I'd be willing to venture most of it is lying for 10 years. And after 10 years, a decade, most people, I think, in some ways have bought into the lying. Eventually, people lie so much, they even believe what they're lying about. Yeah, you know, that's been lied to at going to a dealership, and you're presenting a deal, but the deal that you thought was presented isn't the deal you got. And so then that just irritates you, and you leave. Who has been lied to? Relationship. Yeah, we can talk about that all day long. This would be Mr. Dr. Phil's video channel if I go down that route of getting the conversations of the spouses, the relationships you're lied to. Oh, it's infinite. Who doesn't know these stories? Who doesn't know the stories of being told at work you're going to have this position and that you're lied to deliberately? I mean, you can go through the list of everything that goes on in mankind society of what you feel like you were lied to, and what does that do? When you're lied to, how do you feel? You feel like you were abused. You feel like you were taken advantage of. You don't want to do business with that person anymore. You don't want to associate that person anymore. Then that lying then becomes very confrontational. And then you know, if you're smart in this world, you have to come to closure that I don't need to deal with this lying person, and I'm going to have to go find somebody that doesn't lie as much. I think that all of us are guilty for lying, how you use your words. I think I'd be amazed if anybody here on my channel said, oh, I've never lied my whole lifetime. I'd be like, really? Really? Okay. Police officer pulls you over. How fast are you going? I don't know. BS. You know how fast you were going. But you don't answer that question. You don't do that. But there you go. You just lied to the police officer. You don't know how fast. Oh, really? Okay, sure. I'm sure a police officer believes that one, right? He just hands you the ticket. Whatever. I could go on and on and on about what's going on in our country as we come upon the election doorstep, and what is the most powerful word that Donald Trump wants to hit here? Win. Yeah. The most powerful word he wants to hear in his lifetime on election day is he won. Now, for so many others out there, the most powerful word we want to hear in our lifetime is Kamala lost. Yes. We can only hope Kamala lost. So for us, and I don't care, this Democratic Party, I'm sorry, everybody, you got to have new leadership. Kick Donald Trump aside. I don't care. Kick Kamala Harris aside. I don't care. Put somebody back in power in this country that writes itself where the lies and the truths actually prevail, where we get the truth out of what's going on in our country, and we right ourselves from all the wrongs that are going on in our country. And there you go. The word of the day should have been wrong, or should have been right. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to leave it at that without getting all too confrontational for those that watch my channel. That may irritate and hurt somebody's feelings. But hey, if your feelings are hurt from me talking bad about the Democratic Party, just send me money. Send me money of your happiness to the Democratic Party, of how everything's more expensive and how we're in World War II, I should say we're in the verge of going to World War III, because now Israel is in direct conflict in Lebanon, bombing the hell out of those Hezbollah. It's radical stuff. It's radical. If you read what Israel's doing behind the scenes of blowing people up left and right, they just blew up 20 people yesterday. You're just going to keep on hearing the stories. So when does Iran get involved? When does Russia and China and Iran all partner together? And, what happens to Israel? And then what happens to NATO? It gets very complicated. And I'm not that dynamic to tell you all that military knowledge and how it all plays out. But to me, it's not good of the ignorance of the administration that we have in power. They need to be removed, and we need to get somebody that can get a handle on all these wars and tame down the world to be a more friendly place. How do we become friends? As Dan the Man says out of Canada, where is the togetherness where we're all together on the same page? For peace, can we get the peace back? Can we get the love back? Can we get the friendships back? Can we get that back? Can we stop the division of our country by political figures running their mouths to deliberately have you not like somebody because they just want you to vote for their party? That's the worst thing in the world. Can you imagine going to a car dealership and all the guy says to you that Chevrolet's a piece of shit, and you got to buy a Ford. Chevrolet's a piece of shit, you got to buy a Ford. Chevrolet, that's politics. Would you really enjoy that? That you go there, and the guy doesn't know you drove a Chevy there thinking of buying a Ford. That's how bad it is. I mean, that's what we live in a society of. Wouldn't you just be so, oh, that's just beautiful. Hey, salesman, shut the hell up. You don't know. What if you have a nice used Chevy you want to buy? Oh, well, you know what? That's actually a good one. Yeah, get the hell out of here. Political environment we live in, and people accept it. It's not acceptable. All right, everybody. God bless. Have a great day. Don't get mad. Get happy. The word of the day, let's be happy. Have a great day.